about fear, because I know that that's what we're here to talk about. When a athlete, I guess any age, has that parent or has that coach that is like that, and that is not the thing that can be changed. How do you work with that athlete to deal with maybe the parent that is, extra crazy on the way home or yelling, or the coach that is all over them? What are your suggestions for athletes that have that in their lives?
Let's talk a little bit about the coach first, because it's a more difficult situation if they're living at home and getting this constantly at home. But if it's, I have a thing. My approach is right focus, right feeling, and right attitude. Under right attitude, I ask them, how they define commitment, and they say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to achieve my goal. Okay. If you're truly committed, whatever comes up, you have to use it. If you don't use it, it can use you. Okay, so I have a coach who's yelling at me all the time. Negative feedback. How can I use it? I said, then you have to be much more assertive about doing the breathing work to feel good, much more assertive about talking to yourself in a positive way, because you're not getting it from the coach. And either you use it or it'll use you. It'll end up bringing your energy down. It's not ideal, but that's about as good as it can get. I mean, in some cases, you could talk to the coach. I mean, little kids are not going to do this, and you could say, I might even do better if you once gave me a little love once in a while, but that's not going to really happen. So I try to explain. I had a gymnast one time who was coached by a Russian coach, and she was, Canadian level gymnast, and she was getting a tremendous amount of negative feedback. She came in with her mother, who had been a world-class gymnast. How do we deal with this? And the only thing I could say, well, two things. The reason the coach is on you is because he knows you can. That's maybe understanding that helps to deal a little bit with it. But you have got to talk to yourself in a positive way. You have got to really work harder on creating that good feeling within. When it's with parents, it's really a problem because it's really insidious. It's there all the time. And I had one situation where a very, very good hockey player, a young guy who's playing in the Western Hockey League, he's been drafted, a good player. His dad was his coach. And the player, when talking with me, was saying, it's like I'm getting coached all the time. And so I said to him, look, he's 19, now he's 19, he was 18 at the time. I said, you're not a little kid anymore. I want you to say to your dad, look, I love that you're my coach, but when we're at home, I want you to be my dad. And sometimes, parents just forget this. But so my thing you have to use it. If the goal is to be a better player, a healthier person, and you're getting negative stuff, you've got to use it to make yourself stronger, to talk to yourself in a different way. If you have enough self-assurance, maybe you do say something to the coach, Maybe I had it with soccer, with kids soccer, where one coach was yelling all the time, and I had the parent videotape the coach because I didn't think the coach was aware of how they were behaving in the game. And that's something you can do in soccer where the parents are on the sideline. You can't do the same thing in hockey, or not really. So, that was one suggestion, Sammy.
No, I love that. That's incredibly helpful. And I feel like for the where these videos go, where Wally sends them, I think incredibly valuable for a lot of either coaches or athletes that will watch that out there too, that think, I have this fear and I know why, but I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, well, I think, you have to learn to love yourself in a difficult situation. And it's if it's really intense, we used to say, if somebody the old thing, somebody falls off the horse, put them back on the horse. But that's only true if they're not terrified. The extent of the fear, the extent is if they're very, very frightened, then we take them off the horse and we give them some support. If they're moderately to minorly frightened, we put them back on the horse. And so the situation there is if the coach is really over the top, take them out of the situation. It's just not worth it. But if it's just, somebody who's repeatedly being negative and unpleasant, then you got to become stronger. You can deal with this. You're a strong person. You're a good person. You're a good player. Take a breath, say positive things to yourself. Yeah.
That's great insight. I think this generation of players can really change our culture. So if some of them can just get through, just use it to get through, to become those coaches and those role models and those mentors. I think that where there's a big shift going on right now in hockey, and we won't have as many of those coaches or parents, hopefully, in the future.
I asked Ken Hitchcock what makes a winning team. And he said to me, you can win. He said, it's the players in the room. You can win. You need a strong core group. A strong core group, you can win even in spite of the coach. So that's another thing. If you have a coach who's very negative and you have a core group that forms almost around in response to that, they can go to the coach, not one person, and say, Coach, we're getting a lot of negative stuff from some of the players, feel that you're too negative. And I think that helps sometimes if you have that group within the team, they can talk to a coach. But it's a tough situation.
No, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. I had one situation I actually wrote about. It's a little different. There was a guy who was playing in the NHL, and he got traded to this team, and the coach was on him all the time, and he couldn't stand the coach. And he said to me, when he was in the room, I had to look away. I couldn't even look at the coach. And he was invited, this player was invited to give a talk at a summer camp. It was a Christian summer camp. And he gave the talk, and the parents and the kids were there. And afterwards, one of the mothers came up to him and she said, I don't know you. They had asked him how he got along with his coach. And he said, well, I have some issues. And he skipped over it. And she said, I don't really know you, but I think you have a real problem with your coach. And I think you should pray for him. And he thought, oh my God, pray for this guy. I can't stand him. But, over the summer, every day he said a prayer for the coach. He did it. He was a Christian-inspired guy. And he said by the time he came back in the late summer, the beginning of the fall, he didn't have a bad feeling about the coach. And again, the coach didn't, put him on the fourth line or whatever. But guys were injured and everything else, and he worked his way up. And by the end of the season, he was one of the leading scorers in the NHL. And this guy went on to become the team captain and become a great player in the NHL. So I was working with this Bantam team in Kelowna, and they had a wonderful coach. He had played himself and knew the game. And he would fly me up from Vancouver to talk to his kids. He was really devoted to this thing. And he called me up one time and he said, Saul, I have a couple of parents that are they're destroying my pleasure in the game. They are on me about their kid getting more ice and on the power play and on this and on that. And I'm going to quit coaching. And I told him the story. I said, maybe you should pray for the guy. And he said, pray for that son of a bitch. There's no way I'd pray for him. And he ended up quitting coaching. But it's tough. It's tough dealing with parents who really think their kids are the greatest players and should have all the opportunity, and it's all about their kid and their kid and their kid. And you as a coach are trying to create an environment where we're a team and, and build up confidence the kids have and learn their skills and everything, and you have people almost unconsciously pulling things down, pulling it in the wrong direction.